Hi, I'm Zeb. I'm with DarlingDork, and today I am reviewing Ascension, the Rise of Vigil. This is one of the many expansions and popular add-ons to Ascension, which was originally came out, I think, in 2010. This game adds a new mechanic into it, as well as new cards that you can combine with old sets or play as a standalone. So, for those of you who haven't played Ascension, I'll be going through the basics of the game, try to give you a crash course in how Ascension itself plays before I dive into what makes this particular one unique. In Ascension, you get, well, one rulebook, the 2 decks of always available cards. These are the Heavy Infantry and the Mystic. I'll go into more into detail what they do. A starter deck, which is composed of Apprentices and Militia, along with a new card, the Energy Shard. You have the Honor Pool. These are 5 honor units, and this is 1. They're referred to as gems. I kind of think of them as little pieces of jello. And then you have the center card deck. So this is where the main action of the game is. You're either purchasing cards from here or buying them. So like this guy, Osiah, the Judge of Logos. You can purchase him for a set amount. He goes into your deck, and then he has an effect he gives whenever you play him. So gameplay works something like this. You have 6 cards out in the center row. With energy shards, which are randomly shuffled into your deck, pop up. They go underneath a card that can be purchased or a monster that can be killed. So here's a few more. This kind of nicely illustrates what all comes with the game. Here's a monster card. Monsters have a set value that you have to reach in order to kill them. And then they provide either a reward of honor and then usually a bonus effect. So like this one, it grants, you may banish him to grant 2 energy to yourself to spend during your turn. So here are the different kinds of cards that are out. You have heroes, like with, again, Osiah. And when you play a hero, he has his effect, then you put him into your discard, and he doesn't come up again until you shuffle your deck. Then within that, you also have constructs. Constructs, when they are played, stay out in front of you and grant a continuous, but usually kind of small bonus to play. So for example, this one, if you spend 5 energy during your turn, you may draw an extra card from your deck. There are 4 different factions of cards. There is Enlightened, and Enlightened is mostly based around banishing and drawing cards. You have Lifebound. These are the green ones right here. They mostly grant some buy and then some honor and then occasionally a draw. You have Makana. Makana tends to grant small bonuses, but they're worth a lot of points, and they synergize really well. And then not included in this center row are the Void heroes. Void cards are in purple, and they usually are based around killing monsters. So how do you play the game? Every turn, you draw 5 cards with which to form your hand. Depending on what you have out, you might also have some extra bonuses. So, using this hand, I have 5 apprentices. 5 apprentices give me 5 buy, runes, or however you really prefer to refer to them. Militia, let's say I had one of those, they give you 1 fight. So with 5 buy, I can purchase any card whose threshold I meet. So for example, if I wanted to buy the Reality Sculptor and the Beacon Shaman, they're worth 2 and 3. I purchase them. If I have energy shards underneath, they come into my discard. New cards come out, and when I'm done, anything I haven't played gets discarded. I draw 5 new, and the next person takes their turn. For fighting monsters, let's say I had an extra militia out, so I had 2. Now I have 2, I could kill whatever this thing is, the Serpent Siren. Reward, gain 1 honor, and then you may banish it to gain an energy. Now I haven't explained the energy mechanic yet. It's fairly simple. Energy can come to you in a variety of different ways. One way is by playing an energy shard. Energy shards, they grant you 1 energy and an extra draw, so the effect of that is to not choke up your deck with lots of energy shards that you might not be able to use. So I play it, I draw a new card to replace it, and I have 1 energy available. Certain cards grant certain abilities if you can reach a threshold of energy. Now that means that, let's say I play 4 energy shards, and I have 2 cards that will give me an energize effect. So the Runic Honiskrot, energize 3, you gain 2 fight. If I had 2 of those in my hand, and I had 3 energy, I meet the threshold to use it, so they activate both times. It's not a cost, again, so much as a threshold system. The game ends when this honor pool has been exhausted. That usually happens, that depends on how many monsters are coming out. This deck, I think, is nicely balanced between monsters and stuff to buy. The stuff that you're purchasing is also worth a set honor value. So, Ozaya, the Judge of Logos, is worth 5 honor at the end of the game. You don't take this from the honor pool, it's just counted separately. Makana constructs, like this one, the portability is worth 5. Makana constructs tend to be fairly heavy point value. The Runicana Scrot is worth 1. And that's how you determine the winner. Whoever has the most honor at the end of the game wins. You can always purchase Mystics and Heavy Infantry. They basically function as better apprentices and better militia. And you can always kill the cultist. It takes 2 fight to kill, and he gives 1 honor, and you can kill him as many times as you are able to do so. So that's the basics of Ascension. How do I feel about this particular expansion? I don't like it quite as much as the other ones. Other expansions in the base game itself were very good about including a good number of banish cards. I didn't mention banish because there's actually not that much that comes with this deck. Part of the game includes weaning out the weaker cards in your deck. So militias and apprentices, you start out with those, and the farther you get in the game, the weaker they become relative to the stuff you've bought. You want to be weaning them out because they clog up your deck and they're not as useful as the other cards. There are actually surprisingly few cards in this center deck that are banished for there. Likewise, there are banished cards that affect the center row. So if I see that my opponent is buying up a lot of Makana constructs and I have a banish card, I can play the banish card, send this to the void, and he can't purchase it. It's an important balancing technique because it allows you to stop people who are running away ahead from getting too far by denying them cards to purchase. But again, there aren't that many that come with this deck. Another big problem that I've seen, the energy shards themselves, I think they're a great idea, and I think the energized stuff is really cool. However, it's a bit random at times, in a game that's already a bit random to begin with, partly because there's nothing that stops 4 or 5 shards, hypothetically, from piling up underneath one card. If one person is lucky enough to be able to buy it, you might not see any others for a while. And suddenly they get to do all the cool stuff because they have all the energize. There are some cards that grant energy too, but they're kind of rare and they tend to be fought over because they also grant banish abilities, which means that it's possible to create a runaway leader effect very, very easily with this game. It's also possible for all the energy shards to pile up under a really expensive card right at the beginning. Say Ozaya is the first card that comes out and he's got 3 energy underneath him. He costs 9, which means that it's extremely unlikely that anybody's going to be able to purchase him for the first few turns. All the energy is underneath him. You can't really do anything with him. The game can kind of just sit there and stagnate. I'm not saying this is an inherently flawed game. I think there's stuff that works with it, but I think it needs an expansion to really fully flesh it out. It needs more banish cards. It needs greater accessibility to energy for all the different players. I would consider combining this with other sets, but I hesitate to do that because I like my Ascension, the other decks kind of the way they are. I don't necessarily want to tinker with it too much. Overall, I'd give this a 6 out of 10. With the right expansion, I think it could go up to an 8 probably. So there's my take on Ascension.